Right, I'll bring it.
Welcome to the November 4th, 2025 Haldane Board of Education Business Meeting. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Okay, Vice President Valentine here, Trustee McNall,
Here.
Trustee Cupper
Here.
Trustee Clemenson,
Here.
Student Member Sanders.
Here.
Approving the agenda, we had a couple of changes, but I think everybody got flagged in time, so have the recommended action. Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education hereby approves the agenda as written. May I have a motion?
So move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the next meeting of the Haldane Central School District will be on December 2nd, 2025 at 7 p.m. in the middle school, high school library. We get a bit of a break. And we're going to hear about the findings of our transportation audit, which should be information packed. Kind of looking forward to that one. And I just wanted to say, we're in it. The first quarter of school ends this week. And as a person whose role in the district doesn't require me to live the work, I guess, on a daily basis, I just wanted to express my gratitude for the administration, the teachers, and the staff, and everybody who is in the trenches with the kids all day long. And I think I can speak for everybody when I say we love hearing about it. That's why we're here. So, thank you. Yeah. Oh, public hearing first.
I think we'll do that. That's okay.
We have a public hearing. We've approved let me pull it up here. We've already approved the district-wide safety and emergency management plan, but we had a change. We have an update to it. So the state requires us to hold a public hearing so we can hear comments from the public. And the update was made public on October 1st. So everybody had a chance to look at it if they wanted to. So I hereby open the public meeting, and Gail, you're going to give us an update on what?
Sure. So every year we do have to approve our district-wide safety plan. This year, all districts in the state also had to include information on cardiac emergency response plan. So that's the details on where our AEDs are and which individuals are trained within the district. So the plan is pretty much the same. We just added that one section to the plan.
Okay. Are there any comments or questions from anybody? Okay, I think we can move to close the public hearing, and we will vote on it later on to get it set. And now,
Okay. So I just had to bring tonight, hot off the press, the updated latest version of Haldane Horizons. I love this publication, and I just want to thank Megan for all of her hard work in terms of making sure that she's reaching out to each of our schools, to teachers, to the administrators, to students. I especially appreciate that we're really trying to bring forward this year the Haldane Essentials. So hopefully if you've had a chance to go through it, you'll see every month now we're trying to highlight each of the essentials and the teaching and learning that's connected. So one thing that's highlighted in here is an experience that one of our 8th grade teachers, Christopher Blair, is involved in. He's involved in the Hudson Valley Writing Project out of New Paltz, which is just a phenomenal professional learning for educators. But I've had the chance to see him in the classroom with the students, and it's just another way to bring your writing, really to elevate it to the next level. So he was asked to teach a Saturday seminar last Saturday about including jazz music as a way to help students use improv in their writing. And so the lesson that I saw in his classroom, he had music on. Students were writing, but then he was having them think about how to revise as maybe a jazz player might when they're playing their song. And it was just like a very neat way to connect writing to music. So he was being highlighted and actually taught a seminar at the Hudson Valley Project in New Paltz last weekend, and he is highlighted in our health. So I just wanted to kind of bring that forward. Lots of great things going on in his classroom. What else? So it's been a great, couple months. I can't believe it's November already. I have experienced my first Halloween here in Haldane, so it was wonderful standing at the top of the hill to watch the parade. And only here in Haldane can you really go from pre-K to grade 12 in just a line. So the little ones are dressed in their costumes. Their principal is walking, big smile on Christine's face as she's walking up the hill. Parents are lined on the streets and the kids are walking up, big smiles, coming up to visit the high school and the high school teacher. So it's just so much fun to see that. And then we also had our trunk or treat at the high school after to kind of help support the high school seniors. So again, it was great to see our oldest kids interacting with the younger kids. I was not here at night, but I hear wonderful things about what happens on, is it Parrot Street?
Yes.
Right. So all things good for Halloween. And then just continuing with some authentic experiences. I had the chance to attend a middle school yoga class on Monday, and Maeve, I'm saying that right now. Okay, so Maeve is the instructor and she's been here for many, many years in Haldane, and it's wonderful just to see her engaging with the kids. And you heard a lot of, I can't touch my toes and I'm cracking. I'm like, I can't touch my toes and I'm cracking too, but let's try a little bit. So it was great to actually physically be on the mat with the kids. So I really enjoyed that. And then I'm taking a hike with, what did we say, Max? 8th grade?
Yeah,
You
eighth
said
grade.
on Thursday. So that'll be fun to go experience that with them. And then I'm really looking forward, and I want to thank Julia and her staff for all of the work ahead of time. We're looking forward to welcoming our Garrison and Manitou students tomorrow morning for their annual tour, the current 8th graders, and then their parents tomorrow night. Just looking at the presentation that was created. It's amazing how, and we know that the high school does this so well, but everything that you were able to capture within the presentation, like lots of things to be proud of. And we're looking forward to sharing that with Garrison and Manitou. And then last but not least, we had our conference day today. I did add this in the board update on Friday. Lots of great learning in different ways. And so we had the opportunity in the morning to come together as a staff, and we talked about wellness, and I led just a brief activity reminding staff that if we don't take care of ourselves first, we can't be the best version of ourselves for our students and families. So that was kind of the message. And then all throughout the day, there were lots of different workshops at the high school level, looking at our new science, looking at different standards in each of the different content areas. We had some sessions on student health at middle school, and then elementary was diving into the new ELA program, the benchmark program. And there were many more activities, AI workshops and technology as well. So great day of learning. And I think it's important the community knows when we have a day off from instruction, our teachers and administrators are still learning so many different things to then bring that back to the classroom. So that's a nice overview to get us started tonight.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And now we get to hear from our ex officio student board member, Max Sanders.
So I met with Mrs. Jammin and Dr. Silky over the past month, and they gave me some interesting updates with the elementary school. They had their student council elections, and they got a Board of Education liaison, May Schneck. So I'm going to be in contact with her when I meet with the elementary school. They had an author visit from Nancy Castaldo, who's the author of Whales in the City, and they held a read aloud in the small gym. They did their big apple crunch, which was sponsored by the PTA Garden Committee with apple donations from Fishkill Farms. And they are having a book week supported by the Haldane School Foundation. And they passed a grant so all students can purchase books. So every kid leaves with one new book. And as Dr. Duffy said, the Halloween parade and trunk or treat was a great success. And some upcoming events for the elementary school is they're hosting a movie night on November 7th. They're watching the live action How to Train Your Dragon. And then yesterday, the Dia de los Muertos celebration had an excellent turnout. And then with the middle school, there's an 8th grade trip to Minnewaska State Park. And I was talking to Dr. Silky, and her and Coach C are trying to incorporate more hiking and outdoor education. And also it's good for 8th graders because it's preparing them for when they go to Frost Valley later in the spring. And with the high school, college application season has begun. We had 14 students apply early decision to schools, including myself, and then 44 applied early action, and many students were working right up to the November 1st deadline. So we wanted to give a special thanks to Mrs. Kochin and Mr. Rosa and all the teachers who dedicated time outside of the school day to write recommendation letters, and Mrs. Sniffen and Mrs. Julis. And then we have a Manitou Garrison visit scheduled for tomorrow. And students will begin with a meet and greet in the auditorium, followed by a campus tour, and then a student panel presentation and lunch. And then with athletics and clubs, our student versus faculty game for benefiting the senior class got rescheduled, or maybe, sorry, the junior class got rescheduled to November 12th. Model UN leaves for their annual Yukon trip this Friday, chaperoning our Miss Secor and Miss McGrath. How the History Club and Youth Court are co-hosting a Veterans Day Trivia Bowl at the VFW on November 14th, where students and veterans will compete together in teams. And then Leo and Roar Club is hosting its 10th annual Kongsgiving Drive, accepting donations from K to 12. And we're having members of the club go into the elementary schools and kind of explain to them what it is, what happens during holidays to dogs and cats and pounds and stuff. And then due to increased need, Student Council, we have an annual K through 12 donation program for Thanksgiving, but we've increased its reach this year, and each grade is assigned to specific food items while teachers donate turkeys. And lastly, we wanted to also give a special thanks to Dr. Eric Kupper for visiting the high school to educate students about the science of opioids and provide Narcan training. And that's all I have for you guys.
That's a lot.
Yeah, lots going on.
No, it's good. I just wanted to reiterate too that, at any point during these meetings, any presentation, please ask questions or give commentary. We value your voice because you're in this every day. So please don't hesitate to ask or say anything. And now we have our special presentation on technology with our Director of Technology, Leah Horn.
Water, because I have a cough. Hopefully it will not attack me in the middle of this.
And as Leah's coming up, I want to just acknowledge, so she's been in this role for quite some time as a teacher on special assignment. And tonight, this is her first presentation officially as a Director of Technology. And that's just something I don't want you to ever forget. Like your very first presentation, it's a big deal. We're very proud of you. And even hearing today from teachers, just the aspect of customer service. And you mentioned a little, but I've also kind of heard from teachers and administrators, having you in this role and the work you've done and now the work you're going to be able to continue to do. It's just a wonderful thing, and people are very pleased with the work you've done, and the sky's the limit as we go.
Sounds good.
Yes.
I love it. Thank you. So yeah, I wanted to thank you guys for this opportunity to do this. It's been a while. I think my last presentation to the board was maybe 3 years ago at this point. So it's been a while. So I was kind of looking forward to give you guys an update. And again, yes, my title's a little different, so it's kind of exciting. I feel like I don't know everybody in here, or not that I don't know, but I don't know if you know me. So I thought I would kind of bring you along my journey. Like, this looks like so long ago. 2001 is when I started at Haldane. It was a long time ago. Obviously in the classroom, teaching biology. And then back in, I can't believe how long it's been, 2014, 2015 is when I started this position. They had me, I laugh because I was hired as technology integration specialist, those of you that are around that remember, but I really became acting director of technology, managing the budget and PD and all the wonderful things that come with that title. So I've been working in this position for about 10 years, went back for my master's to get my administrative degree, and then officially this July joined the administrative team, which has been awesome, and I thank everybody for that opportunity and for doing that for me. It's the biggest piece, I think, and people have asked, like, well, what's the difference? I think the biggest piece is I'm part of a team. I didn't realize how I was sort of like on this island by myself, I wasn't part of the teachers anymore. I wasn't part of the admin. And I also sort of wasn't privy to everything that was happening in the district. Things would happen and I'd hear about them. And now I'm like, I get to hear, which makes sense, right? Technology is kind of the backbone. So it's a joy to hear and be a part of things that we're doing. So I love the change. This took me down a rabbit hole. Julia's gonna love this because this is what I did. I didn't go back to 2001. I wanted to, but you guys didn't want to wait that long for me to tell you all about the things that have changed. But I said, let me go back to at least 2010 to see where we're at. So this is fascinating to me. In 2010, we were only purchasing what's 4.5 megabits of bandwidth. And what that means is we only had one lane of traffic. Basically, our data had one lane of traffic, 4.5 megabits, and not a whole lot going on in here. We were one-to-one iPads in high school, which I think is very progressive of us and pretty exciting. We only had a handful of touchscreen TVs. We only had tech support twice a week back then. That was it. And it was kind of like, it doesn't, like 15 years ago, really doesn't seem that long ago. 2015 is when I joined the technology, like I became tech director, whatever, I was integration specialist. We bumped up to a whopping 150 megabits. We got a couple more lanes in the data path. We only had 25 Chromebooks when I started in this position. It was, now we have over 800 Chromebooks that we have. It's crazy how much has changed. Oh, I didn't mention 2010. I don't know if Julia Sniffen remembers. Julia Sniffen and Jen Wilson wrote a technology for dummies that was published and handed out to the staff in 2010. I really wanted to show it to you guys, but I only have a 20-minute limit. But it was like pictures of technology. Yeah, it was hysterical. It was how to turn it on. It was like really old desktops and like dinosaurs. Like I guess like sometimes you don't realize how much time has passed, and now I'm like, this is crazy. But we gotta unearth that. It's pretty funny. I want to show that to you. Oh, I also found a history of technology that Dr. Di Natale wrote in 2007. He wrote a history of Haldane technology dating back to like, I don't know, I think he went back as 1975 and up. So it was fascinating. It was a fun rabbit hole. This was a rabbit hole. But I digress. So 2020, what happened? COVID, which I want to talk about. But we immediately went one-to-one Chromebooks. We had to like just get Chromebooks in students' hands, get them home. We upped the bandwidth when we had 500 megabits. We upped EduTech to 5 days a week because now we had all this other technology that we needed to support for. And then here we are today, 1,000 megabits of bandwidth is what we currently purchase. K2's one-to-one iPads. We have one-to-one Chromebooks grades 3 through 11. The seniors are BYOD, and we talked about doing that so that they have some ability to have their own device, that I'm sure they enjoy that. And that way it's this, hopefully for some of them, it's the same device that they're taking to college. We felt like it made sense for them to be comfortable with that device. Now we've got a touchscreen TV in every single classroom. It took me a while to get rid of them. It was like whack-a-mole. We had projectors in every classroom when I started. And we have EduTech 5 days a week with a level 2 twice a week. So we have 2 gentlemen and almost technically 7 days of EduTech. So big changes. And our bandwidth, it's a highway with lots of, I only put 1 free lane, but we have a lot more than that. On any given time, we usually renew our Verizon contract every 2 or 3 years. And Verizon usually helps us like determine where we're at in bandwidth and if we need to increase it. We barely touch half of 1,000. We really don't do a lot of traffic. So we've been in good shape. I haven't seen it since AI has started to come into place. So I'll be interested when we reevaluate that. But we right now have 2 lines. We have a 1 gigabyte with Verizon and a gigabyte with Optimum. So we have a backup line, which has been a saving grace because if we lose Verizon, people don't even know that Verizon's out because it rolls over automatically to Optimum and vice versa. That there's a huge piece we got that helped us kind of be smooth. So I thought it'd be interesting to bring you down memory lane a little bit. So when it comes to technology, obviously the backbone of everything we do is the district mission and goals and the Haldane Essentials. So everything that, the PD, the software we bring in, the devices, the tech plan, which I'll talk about, we use this as our infrastructure and our backbone to sort of build off of. So it's a big piece of everything that we do for tech. And the other big piece is, it's funny, I promised myself, I never use my cards, I always do. And I'm like, here I go, I'm not using them. But the other big piece that we always talk about is these new New York State computer science standards. They're new for us, and it was important for us to kind of figure out if there's a gap. So I've been working towards doing like a gap analysis to try to figure out what standards we're covering, what standards we're not covering, so that we can kind of come up with a plan to see where those gaps are and try to focus on some standards that we need to do. So technology does the missions and goals, essentials, and we also really focus on the the New York State computer standards. So one of the questions that the board asked me specifically is they were like, let's talk about technology in the Haldane classroom. Like, what does it look like in the classroom? On any given day, what are students doing? So what I did is I reached out to teachers, walked around the building, I've met grade levels, and it was really fun actually working with a lot of people. These are actually authentic, our kids taking, working with their iPads. And I was able to gather some data regarding like what the day in the life of a Haldane student is in technology. So the first step got back to me is the iPads. The iPads, this is K1. These iPads are mainly used, they do a lot of station work, obviously in the lower grades. And so the iPads are used for stations when they're doing phonics and blending boards. The kids kind of like rotate through stations, maybe they're doing math, and then they go with the iPad. The teachers had mentioned to me that the iPads are so much easier for the kids to manipulate the touch screen. They can like use their fingers to expand text. With the blending boards, it was kind of fun. I saw the app they play with. They're able to just sort of grab pieces of words, put them together, and then the iPad can read it to them. So really kind of great stuff. NWEA, which is our benchmark assessment. The kids are struggling in that grade level with the trackpads. Trackpads are hard. Like when we first brought in computer-based testing, I don't know, when it first started maybe 7 years ago, we first had to, I think we had to start it with 3rd grade as like a test run. And those poor guys were really struggling with because they had to move things around and they just really struggled with the trackpad. And sometimes the mouse even makes it worse. So it was agreed upon that we would use iPads in lower grades to help them. And then that way 3rd grade would be the first year, 2nd grade would be the first year of Chromebooks. High school science was fun. I wanted to include some video clips for you, but again, I could probably talk all night about technology. One of the specific ones that they brought up is there's something that we purchased called Pivot Interactives. And what it does is it's real lab simulations. So like we don't have the equipment or the space or the money to do some of these labs. I don't know if Max has done any of these, but what's cool about it is they can do the simulations on their Chromebooks. They can actually change the variables. They can rerun the experiment. They can make measurements, like if it's physics and they need to see how far a ball has gone. So it's really, the kids, the feedback has been that it's engaging. It helps really get the kids interested in science and being able to run all these different tests. So real fun stuff. If you look at Pivot Interactives online when you get a chance, you can kind of see some of their simulations and it's pretty cool. So that's what high school science is doing. Math, this was funny. The calculator is one of the first things that came in, like in terms of the technology goes and the timeline. And I had dug into this when we were doing AI and we talked about, I found quotes from teachers saying that the calculator was going to ruin the world. And that like once the kids started using calculators, they would never think again. The library did the same thing. They panicked with the library, like the encyclopedias were going to just ruin, we wouldn't need teachers ever again. So it's kind of funny when you're like, this is like such a great example. This is technology in a math classroom. They're using it to simulate real stock markets. They're using it to do like life skills, math and money, and how to manage your checkbook and things like that. And obviously the calculator, a lot of the tests, like we were playing around with some of the assessments today, and you can actually add the Desmos calculator into the assessment so the two students can, use the calculator in testing. So math is loving the technology, and they had lots of great things to say about how they're using it. Social studies was fun too. This was specifically a 7th grade social studies classroom. She had talked about some virtual field trips that they do. They visit 13 colonies, she sent me the slide deck. Again, I wanted to show you parts of this. It was pretty cool to like be able to sit at home and navigate like a house in different historical areas. The digital maps they use, she talked about how it helps them cite their resources. Like a lot of you in the room can remember, remember how hard it was to cite resources in the right format? It was exhausting to try to do that. And so this sort of takes that piece out of it and helps them navigate citing resources and things like that. So the maps and geography, like she had a big piece that she really enjoyed. So that's the middle school. That was mainly middle school classroom. So then the other piece that was brought up to me is like, okay, so how does technology help to support UDL? And what I thought, you guys have seen UDL. I think, we were introduced to it. The staff mainly were introduced to it about a year ago. It's been sprinkled throughout the K-12 teachers. And what I thought would make the most sense is like, okay, how does technology specifically support UDL? So like when you look at representation and how the kids can represent themselves, what I decided to do is I picked specific software that we currently use in the district. So we use Read and Write, so the kids can do text to speech for that pieces. We use Brisk AI, which you'll learn a little bit more about later in the presentation. Gamified learning, Gamikits, which is a real fun game. Max is probably it's like turns like a typical quiz into like a video game, which is kind of fun. Although I got frustrated by it the other night. We use Pivot Interactives and CoSpaces to simulate different things for science. And CoSpaces is a virtual reality designed for the kids that use it in the 5th grade. And then we use Canva for digital portfolios for them to express their work, coding. The kids use Scratch, which we've been using that for a while. And obviously Google Classroom helps them collaborate on documents and Google Slides and things like that. So UDL is definitely I would say technology, I should say, is definitely very strongly supports UDL and helps all of these kind of things happen in the district. So with all of these pieces and all the new devices, especially my little history and timeline, how many more devices we've got, the question is, how is our basically, how is our network supporting all this? Like, where are we today? Like, how are we able to support this? So, and what are the things that we're doing to keep, like, sort of future-proof our network so that it can continue to support all these devices? So, number one, before I even get to devices, the bandwidth. The bandwidth, every time we sign a contract, we look at the research, we reach out to Verizon and we say, how much are we using? They recommend, we haven't had to move it, but they recommend that we need to increase bandwidth. So far our bandwidth has been perfect. Anytime online testing we've done, and we've had a couple grade levels at one time with like 20, 18 to 20 Chromebooks in one classroom. We've had absolutely no problems with, I should knock on wood, with online testing. The problems have been the state platform, which I'm sure you guys have heard about. Like our devices are ready, our bandwidth is great. The device can't talk to the state, or last year was a little bit of a debacle where the tests got stuck on the Chromebook and we had to take the Chromebooks and wait till they got back online. The state got back online and we were able to upload the tests, but kind of didn't really affect the kids too much. But so in terms of network, the infrastructure, we have everything on a replacement schedule, the servers, the switches, our access points. We do the best we can to keep them within the recommended time frame in terms of how old they get. Chromebooks especially, they're only out for 3 years, which is crazy when you think about it. But I make sure that they're in a kid's hands for only 3 years, because once they hit the end of the third year, especially in like a middle school hand, or students which can be really rough on them, that Chromebook then gets retired to become backup. We do all of our Chromebook repairs in-house. A lot of schools send those out, or they do insurance. We've been able to do them in-house. The screens are really, you pull them out of a Chromebook that might have a broken keyboard, but the screen's intact. So we just keep swapping parts around and we're able to fix them, bring them back to the student and keep them going. But we try not to make them any older than 3 years. The changes that we've made is any new Chromebook moving forward has now 8 gigs of RAM. So in the past, the Chromebooks had 4 gigs of RAM, and that's the running memory. That's the memory the Chromebook or the device needs to process all the things happening. As you can imagine, with these AI extensions and things like that, it's slowing down the processor. And so kids it's been a little bit of a struggle because they start to try to use Brisk or use something and it slows down the processor and it's a little bit slower. So we made the move to spend more money on the devices, jump them up to 8 gigs of RAM so that they run faster. And so far the kids have reported, and even the staff, those are in staff hands as well. The staff have reported, but obviously that's not everybody. It has to be a little bit of a cycle to get them out. And that's about it, everything. So the other thing that we've done is we've done a lot of infrastructure in terms of like cybersecurity and protecting our network. In the old days, like, today we get text messages and server goes down or a switch gets down. I get a text message, even if it's a weekend, like, hey, you got a server down, so that we can get ahead before Monday morning to try to get these things back online. There's a lot of pieces in place, like we have filters on the Chromebooks that help protect the kids from going to inappropriate websites and things like that. We have a very robust firewall, which is unfortunately reaching end of life. It'll be about, I think, at 8 years, but it's doing its job in terms of protecting the kids. It keeps them from getting to everything that they want to get to necessarily in the internet. But it's been, knock on wood, the infrastructure has been great. Things are running smoothly. All the devices are in good shape. So another question that was asked is, how do we pick software? And if you think about it, software has changed so much since I started this position. And it changed again when COVID hit. COVID made everything free. I don't know if you remember that. So like for teachers, every single software solution under the sun was like basically marketed to teachers and students. And we picked it all up because we were teaching from home and we were trying to manage the kids and just try to get through the everyday. So now my job is I'm focused on trying to narrow those down. There's a lot of overlap and making sure that we don't have that sort of overreaching and purchasing too much software. So right now the process is a little bit, and we're looking at ways that we can tighten this up. But right now the process is that there's a Google form I have out there that's available to the teachers. Typically the teacher's like a pioneer. In other words, they've either researched it on their own or they've gone to like PNW BOCES and seen it, at some sort of workshop. So they're like, wow, this is a really cool tool. I'd love to try to use it in my classroom. So they usually fill out a form, which I see. I bounce it off the principals like, hey, this teacher's looking at this software, this is what it's used for. I check for Ed Law 2D compliance. So New York State Ed Law 2D is about data privacy. So I have to make sure that it's not collecting data. It's not using student data for advertising. There are some rules about where the data lives. What happens if we don't purchase them again next year? Where does that, do they have to destroy the data or give it back to us? So there's understandably a lot of regulations for that. If the software checks Ed Law 2D compliance, they have to sign our data privacy agreement. And then that goes, or if they are through BOCES, a little bit streamlined. BOCES has like an umbrella DPA, data privacy agreement. So as long as they've signed BOCES DPA, we can kind of jump on that bandwagon. And then I just triple check that it's not already something that we purchase. I make sure that it's really serving its own tool. But this is pretty much, what I think what we'd like to see moving forward, or the changes that I would like to see moving forward, are to find ways to like we figure out like maybe a rubric, right? A rubric for teachers so that, or even for ourselves to say, okay, what are the things that this software does to enhance technology? And in order for us to give it like almost like a grade and then determine if this is something that we think Haldane should purchase and spend money on. But I think what's important is we've got to give the teachers the ability to be the pioneers and test stuff out. We wouldn't have, even something like Brisk, that came from the teachers. And we love it, everybody loves it. And if we didn't give them that agency to be able to try to test things out, we wouldn't be able to see some new technology. So that's our software. With the software and everything else, as you can imagine, comes professional development. So typically we have ASSDs throughout the year. I don't know if I'm sure you're aware at this time that a lot of the ASSDs are run by teachers. Our teachers have the most experience with this stuff and they're the best people to lead this and turnkey it. So often I'll have teachers that'll reach out and say, I'd love to run an ASSD on, there's a software called Wayground, which is like a online assessment software. And they'll run a ASSD, they get an extra hour for facilitating and running it, and then the teachers participate in it. So lots of ASSDs for them. PMW BOCES has a ton of different professional development and different collaboration. I was just at one, I think a week ago on, I was just at one that was about alternative assessments and assistive technology, and it was great collaboration to talk to other teachers and see what everybody's using. So our teachers go to PNW a lot. And then days like today, so Superintendent's Conference Day, I was given the time we had 3 sessions set up for the teachers. It was like sort of like a breakout, like a choice. Teachers could sign up to do Brisk. We had a Brisk intro, a Brisk intermediate, and then I called it online assessment speed dating, because we have a bunch of online assessment tools that I just wanted to show them quick examples of and then have them create an assessment. So lots of in-house PD being built for the teachers, and then at PNW. So I feel like AI was kind of like, we definitely need to have, I couldn't have this whole presentation and not mention AI. So what I wanted to talk about and highlight is some of the work that has been done at Haldane for AI. About 2 years ago, a focus group, myself included, went to PNW BOCES and became a part of this AI group that collaborated, worked together, shared tools. And in that group, we learned about things like Brisk and Magic School. We'd also, I don't know if you guys have seen this, and I'd love to share at some point, but we started these drafts of what we called the Haldane AI guidelines. And what we said is, like, if we know teachers want to use AI in the classroom, it was important to us that we built kind of like guardrails for teachers to help kind of like make sure that they understand like what's the proper use, what are the pros and cons. So this document, it's in the presentation, so you guys will be able to look at this a little bit more closely. But it was a great work that these teachers did, building this kind of guideline for the teachers. And then they also did a rubric, because just like the software, AI is coming at us like insane. It's insane. We've all seen it. Every single thing we touch today has an AI component. Like my banking app, I'm like, does the banking app need to have an AI component? Like, so what we thought is like, how do we narrow these down and like find ways to focus on them? And this was we came up with this AI rubric, and it was like, basically, how can we rate this? Similar to what I was saying, I'd love to have from software, accountability, critical thinking, how does it integrate, things like that, ethical use. What was very important is that educational AI can be AI that's used to it can't use our information to learn. Like ChatGPT, anything you put in ChatGPT, it's taking that information to learn it, use it, and spit it out somehow, some other way. Anything that we subscribe to for educational purposes has to be a sandbox. It can't take our student data. Well, there's no PII in there anyway, but it can't take anything that we put in it and use it to learn. And that was important for us. And we made sure that like any AI tool that we were choosing followed those guidelines. So a lot of work has been done. A lot of work is still yet to be done. I know that a lot of teachers some of them are still afraid to, I think like anybody, people are afraid to use it. We've been really good about, we did a whole bunch of special, like professional development last spring about AI with the teachers, talking about like PII, personally identifiable information. It doesn't belong in a lot of places, but it certainly doesn't belong in AI. And there's nothing wrong with using AI for a resource and trying to, even if you were trying to use it to help come up with ideas about meeting IEP goals, that's fine, but it can't have anything personal in there. It has to be. So we did a lot of those pieces. So ongoing, exciting. I'm excited about it. It's scary and exciting at the same time, but I feel like there's a lot of great tools out there. Oops, I gotta go back to presentation. Am I in it still? Kind of. Okay. So next steps. The technology plan is due this June. New York State requires that we write a technology plan every 3 years. So this will actually, Julia and I think my first technology plan, I think, was in 2001. When I first started, I jumped on the district technology committee, and Julia like grabbed me for help, and we wrote the tech plan back then. So I don't even know how many this has been, but this is another one. It's due in June. I take the whole year, and I focus on these things when we're building the tech plan. The whole point of the tech plan, which I wanted to, again, I didn't use my note cards. I don't know why I even bother. I'm not good at it, I just keep talking. But I wanted to, just in case, let's see. So the tech plan it has to outline a district strategy for using technology to improve student achievement. That's the goal of tech plan. So it's important to us that we use all of our sort of like basic framework in order to build it. And then I thought what I wanted to add, this is my personal feeling, like, and this is a little bit of me doing some research and what's out there. What are next steps? Like, what's the future for us? And absolutely, AI-driven personalized learning. That's what Brisk is. You know, Brisk is definitely, it's an AI teaching assistant. It's basically, you know, getting to the point where students can basically identify how they learn best. Is it auditory, or visual? And the lessons can be catered using AI like very quickly to help meet the students' needs. So that's really exciting, and that's going to change your teaching. The interesting piece I thought is the social learning platforms. What's the biggest piece or the biggest struggle of having now, especially if you have teenagers in the house, is socialization. We feel like, at least the old timers in the room, feel like Snapchat and some of these things have like isolated our kids, right? They communicate through these apps and not face to face. And so now there's a big push to find them ways using technology to communicate and to work together in groups so that we can try to help them become more social and less hiding behind that one device. And then, I want to share this with you. So this is all AI generated, full disclosure. What I said to AI, I used ChatGPT. I said, okay, can you tell me how technology can support the housing essentials and give me examples of what that actually looks like in the classroom? So I just wanted to share it with you because I feel like these are the fun stuff about AI. It's creating great resources for us, things that we can use and help us. To me, like, it came up so much, it was very quick to come up with ideas that maybe would have taken me a little bit longer to come up with. So obviously AI will play a little bit of a role helping us build the plan and come up with great ideas. But I wanted to just share that because that was interesting. And I think that's it.
Great.
No problem. Anybody have questions?
I do. I have a question.
Yes.
Some questions. First of all, thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Easy.
Yeah.
You talked about pursuing doing a gap analysis of how the standards are applied. I'm just curious about what that
Yeah.
process looks like.
So I decided to try to keep it as simple as possible. Teachers are super busy. The standards are intimidating. If you take a look at those standards, they're intimidating. And it's hard to tell, like, I had to sit with them and we had to actually look at the state's examples because some of it was like, so I said to myself, let me just start with the basics. So what I did is I took the standards they're separated in grade levels. I forget off the top of my head, but maybe it's K1, 2, 3, 4, 6, whatever it is. I broke those up and I met the teachers in grade level meetings, department meetings. I gave them packets with their standards, appropriate standards, and highlighters, because who doesn't love highlighters? And I said, let's just sit together and just use the highlighter and determine, like, just highlight what you think you teach directly. Use a different, some of the elementary are hysterical. They start bringing other colors and keys, and it was just so different than high school. But like some people were like, we'll use a different color for the ones that we don't really touch on. It's just sort of like informal. And so that's literally as basic as I could get to just get a snapshot, because it's very quickly, we're starting to see there's some standards that, especially the ones that are like the actual inner workings of a computer, there's some pieces where that is supposed to be in the lower grades. And so we're very quickly being able to see that there's some standards that are gapped. So just basic.
Yeah.
And then hopefully next steps after that.
It's good. I'm glad you're using paper and highlighters.
Yeah, quite old school.
Oh, I was gonna say, us oldies, so, and I have another question in this one. You had, I'm curious, you said that I know that we repair all of the devices in-house, but who's on that team? You say we, I imagine it's just you, but.
Oh God, no. So we contract with a company called EduTech.
So it is three.
They've been with us for longer than I've been. We used to use BOCES, now we use EduTech, maybe, let's say 15 years ago. And so the EduTech guys do it. They actually bring them here. We have it set up so the kids, if they have a broken Chromebook, they bring it here, they pick up a loaner. The guys are sort of trained to come through here, pick up the broken ones, they take them up. Our space, or the tech space up there, is a district attic. They fix them all, they return them. So
I was asking that question, kind of knowing it, but
Yeah.
we often hear the word
Yeah.
EduTech.
I have replaced the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like the
Yeah.
word, we hear
Yeah.
EduTech so often, but we don't really
Yeah, EduTech,
know what EduTech
they
is,
support
so
the
that's why.
devices. Excuse me, they support obviously infrastructure. I was a biology major. Like so like I've certainly learned a lot. Now I'm gonna lose my voice. This is the end. I've certainly learned a lot, but they support the servers and the stuff that's like above me.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me just get the water. Yeah.
Maybe you wanna go?
You go, you go.
All right. So you said, kindergarten to second grade with the, or kindergarten and first grade with the
You want- yeah.
iPads, right? Did you see any iPad use with the pre-K?
No, I have not yet.
And is that by design?
And I think my understanding is that she has iPads available if we need them, but she has not found. I think my understanding is that we're really waiting until kindergarten for those to start. It doesn't mean that there might not be something in the future that might work out for them to be able to manipulate, but at the moment they're not using it pre-K.
Just wondering.
Yeah.
And I'll just offer, so that's one of the, I love all of our classrooms, but if I can only get into a couple of pre-K is where I start.
Mhm.
And so it is a lot of center-based, and I think even looking at grades 1 and 2, I'm very happy in Haldane to see that we're not on iPads, that we're not on technology just because we have access to it. So I have been in other districts where it's no one's fault, but just when we have the tools, I'm just gonna put the kids on an iPad or Chromebook just to kind of kill some time, or they're gonna review something while I'm working with another group. I don't see that here, and I've been looking to see how we're using technology, and it's very thoughtful.
Yeah.
And purposeful, which is good. And the pre-K, they're using their hands and they're painting and all that. They don't have time for the iPads, right?
Well, that makes me happy because, definitely, like the tactile, like fine motor skills at that age. It's so important to do actual puzzles instead of like iPad puzzles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But I
it's
met
great to hear.
second grade. They were really, it's November, and they were like, we really haven't, like, we start to teach them a little bit of like how to turn the Chromebook on. It was a lot of talk about starting to find ways to build in some keyboarding skills at that grade to teach them where the center is and shift and pieces like that. But I had asked them, and they really, so there's some days there are many days where they don't even touch technology in those grades.
I enjoyed the walk down memory lane. I have to say the very first time I met you was 2016. My family was on the tour of the school. We were moving up here, and you were in the library setting up for maybe one of your very first standardized tests.
Oh my gosh.
Like NWA or the map, and you were freaking out. You were sort of like, really hope that we have the bandwidth that's gonna crack. I think it was coming up in like a couple of days. So wanted to ask about the device ban in schools. Like, so everything I've been hearing has been really positive. So I'm just wondering, as we're thinking about Are we progressing students through technology? Do you feel from your perspective that we're losing anything
Yeah.
by not having kids bringing their devices?
Absolutely not. Like I feel like the feedback on my own husband, as we know, teaches here, so we talk obviously a lot. But what I think is so amazing, his biggest feedback is the kids are talking. They're like normally in the beginning of class, what are they all doing? They're on their phones and not communicating. So like the fact that it's like getting more face to face is amazing. Yeah, it was a little bit of a learning curve. I had teachers sort of in a panic because they were used to, especially in the upper grades, right? You could use your cell phone to. How many of our online games are QR codes? My even tech support posters all over the campus are QR codes for the kids in the high school, and I was like, oh my god, that's not going to work anymore. So it was a little bit of a scramble in the beginning. I think it was just change in like how like you wasn't right there. That's not what you could use. You had to think outside the box. I think it's been positive. I think that getting the kids to communicate more, and Max could probably jump in. I feel like they're talking. They're playing the games in the high school, and I think that's what we need. We need that sort of personal face to face. They're getting enough of the device at home. I don't think they'll miss during the school day. And I think the panic. Definitely jump in. But I think the panic of maybe the kids that were nervous about not being able to talk. My own son was like, well, what happens if I need to contact you? And I was like, well, there's this thing connected to the wall that you can pick up the receiver and call. So I think it was a little bit of a shift, but I think it's been great.
And are there any keyboarding class? Like, are kids actually ever learning to type anymore? Is that kind of obsolete since we're sort of, using our thumbs? Or
I think that's one of our pieces that came up as an area we need to improve.
Yeah.
Miss Seuss teaches the keyboarding skills, and this I don't think it's until 6th grade. It came up in a lot of my work meeting with the teachers in the lower grades. It came up like, we really should. There's absolutely time we can have them play, because some of those games are fun if you've ever done them, or you compete. I'm very competitive.
Yeah,
so
like a dance pad or something.
Yeah, so there was a lot of talk of like finding places where like if a kid's done with a worksheet or something early, they could work on like the little keyboarding stuff. So I think we need to build that in better, but the kids find a way. That's the other crazy thing. Like, do you remember having keyboarding skills?
Yeah, I remember doing it in 6th grade, but I feel like it's kind of like, as I remember, like I never needed to learn how to. If anything, it made me slightly faster, but it's kind of just like I just learned.
It happens.
It happened. I didn't need to like explicitly keep practicing and practicing. But my mom, on the other hand, like I watch her at the computer, and she's just like.
Don't shame me.
She like had to go through like she had to learn this.
The proper technique.
So I think it's always interesting to see.
Well, the civil service test, I think, or they're starting to not require. Like you used to have to type so many words per minute, and that's sort of starting to go out the window a bit. So you're gonna say something, Max?
Well, I was just gonna go off on that, and then also I want to talk like seeing the different like AI usages with different subjects. I feel like it kind of also depends on the teacher, because like I've seen personally, like I saw there was like AP Calc up there, and like with the calculators and stuff, like I brought in my own calculator one day, and I bought like a fancier one that does more because I was using it for when I was taking my ACT, and I was sitting there and like I was talking to Mr. Sano, and I just didn't even need that software. Like I feel like a lot of it comes from like the critical thinking when doing math or science and stuff. But I feel like in the humanities department, especially, the use of AI is a lot more helpful. Like in my AP Gov class, Ms. Secor kind of gives us a rubric of, okay, on this assignment, use AI to generate resources that you can use to create an argument on whatever paper. And I feel like there's a lot more, you can be more creative with the way you use it. Obviously, you're not supposed to just write me an essay because that's not how ethically you should use it. But I do feel like the use of AI, it's variable throughout the different parts of the school. And I think it's important to like understand when not. It's good to use it.
Well, Max brings up a really good point. I don't really have a specific question, but we've been sort of waiting for this AI discussion. I know, like, I don't know if it's a big presentation or something, but with the policy committee, we actually had to, I think we have like a first draft, I believe, maybe.
Well, it's something I think as part of this BOCES group that Josh was working on for a long time
hopefully
too.
We're going to get, because exactly what Max was saying on how it's different in every classroom, and maybe that's part of the policy is letting the teachers use their discretion. I don't know, but anything that, I don't know if there's ever a presentation we can have just to sort of understand how it's being used and how Mrs. Sniffen wants it to be used, and that will help the direction of the policy eventually.
have to get one of those.
And if it's helpful, a lot of districts, and I think Haldane did the same thing, started with guidelines, so a lot of districts didn't want to go right into policy, just to get a sense for teachers and administrators what makes sense, and so building off our guideline document and best practices, then we could eventually move into having a discussion. for
Yeah,
policy.
that's gonna be definitely useful for
Mhm.
policy committee.
I think it would be fun to showcase too. Like, I wish I had time for that. I wanted to like show you Brisk and how cool it is and the tools and how it works with student feedback. But we need another presentation.
Yeah.
There are
it's
pros
on.
and cons
Sure.
in the humanities. So one of the things that I have found is that AI repeats the same errors that are crafted and repeated online. So it's an aggregator. And then for whatever reason, students then believe that that's true
Mhm.
again. So, and also colleagues. And so a word of warning
Mhm.
and caution. And so what is really fun to do is go through ChatGPT and have a conversation with it. Usually it works really well with quotes that you pull from the internet. And then you just put, please source this, right? And then it'll go through a whole litany of where it actually can't find the source, right? And then, you'll have and then you can show, the nice thing is you can show the students the entire run of your conversation with ChatGPT, where it's trying to, how do I put this in a proper educated way? Where it's trying not to show that it doesn't actually know. It's trying to
Gaslight.
yeah, well, yeah, I had a better word, but it's a taped meeting. And so the issue is it will almost kind of have a conversation in itself. And it's wild. It really is wild, but people will just accept whatever it spits out right away. And that is striking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So just be aware.
And it also seems to me that, the value of us thinking from a policy standpoint is that, we have to take our parents on the journey with us, because the variety of opinions,
Right.
informed or not, along
Yeah.
that process will either sort of help us or prevent us from
Right.
either following positive trends or, putting the brakes on things that could be useful as opposed to detrimental to education. So
Yeah.
it's good for us to be as transparent as possible, so that if folks have apprehension, there's an opportunity there
Right.
to have a conversation.
There's a large percentage of false responses too,
Yeah.
still within AI. And so, I'm not sure if it's still a majority of the responses back, but it's a very large percentage of responses that you get back are actually, you would deem them kind of inaccurate.
Yeah.
In variant ways.
Right now we have what I would say the guardrails and the training wheels up for sure, or down training wheels. And what I mean by that is a lot of the stuff that ChatGPT is blocked for a lot of the grades because of what I was saying. ChatGPT uses info to learn.
I just hear that. So when kids take their word.
100%. Right. At least during some of the stuff that we work on, especially the AI that does feedback for the teachers guide it and train it to use the content and the things that the teacher they use their own resources and lesson plans, So I think the hope is we move forward carefully, and it's about teaching the kids especially to learn that not everything that you see online is real.
Just like your friends, ask
Right.
questions.
Yeah, and I feel like, especially with all the fake stuff that you see on AI and all the inaccuracies, especially in 6th and 7th grade, when you take classes like library and media, it's even more important now to learn how to fact check and learn how to do research, because no matter what you're getting from ChatGPT, you should always be verifying it. So I feel like it's now even more important in middle school to get that sort of education.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm not dismissing
That's
this.
great.
I don't have the power. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's great.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
think this is our first communication from the public. Haldane Board of Education desires and values input from the entire school community. This first public comment session is reserved for comments on any special presentations or agenda items. For those who wish to address the board, please sign in and state your name for the record. Please keep your remarks to 3 minutes or less. Disparaging remarks and discussion of district personnel are strongly discouraged. Although we do not engage in dialogue, we are listening. Do you have anyone that would like to speak about anything presented? Okay. Information reports. They're here for everybody to read. We will act on these at the next meeting. Consent agenda minutes. May I have a motion, please?
Again.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Consent agenda financial. May I have a motion, please?
Just want to
Um,
point out the acceptance of grants from the Haldane School Foundation, $67,000. Really some awesome looking grants, some that I'm speaking as a past board member. It was just really interesting to take a look at them. And $10,000 are part of that community. Can't remember what they call it, the community grant program, which is going towards specifically for kids whose families would not ordinarily be able to afford them going on a field trip. So it's really awesome to see that they've started that, and just a plug their gala is this weekend, where they do a lot of their fundraising to support the grants. So I just want to say big shout out to Haldane School Foundation.
It really runs the gamut, the things that they support. So
Yeah, lots of enriching experiences, field trips and materials. Yeah.
Is there anything else we wanted to add there? About personnel? Okay.
No, we're good.
Actually, we're still in financial. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, consent agenda personnel. May I have a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Can we just talk?
Yep.
Sure. Real quick. On the last run, Tom's not here, so maybe JV for basketball. I thought we just had a varsity, and then we had enough numbers. Anybody?
We had a JV and a varsity last year.
No, on the run from
Oh, from Comrades.
the last meeting, what was kind of torn up. We had a conversation about.
We're gonna talk about it
Oh, okay.
coming up here, but yes, that's happening.
You're talking about the APP?
No, I'm talking just having the JV team.
Oh, just having a team.
Yeah, I thought
there's
that
a
was
team
great,
at all.
that there's a team. That's
Last year.
okay.
Yes, we have the
All
numbers
right.
for it. Is that what you're asking us around?
Yeah, we had enough numbers. I thought that's great.
I mean, it was I would say a thin team in terms of bodies on the bench or bodies on the court, but
Right, okay,
hopefully this will.
great.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unfinished business. We have the second reading and adoption of our universal pre-K policy. If there's any questions, or it's good. Looks exciting.
Yeah.
Solidifying it. Yeah. May I have the recommended action?
Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education hereby adopts a new policy for universal pre-K and a revision to policy 7120, age of entrance, as attached.
Do I have to do a motion or just?
Yes.
Okay. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Now it's the acceptance of the Garrison Union Free School District student participation in athletic placement process at Haldane. We spoke about this last time. Hopefully, I mean, can we say this is for the girls' basketball program at the high school? And hopefully this specific rule is for exceptional players, so.
That's
very-
very, so we follow, and it's on a case by case basis.
Case by case basis.
Right, this is written for one
For
specific
one specific.
student number 17410. So if it comes up again,
We would have
we
another.
would have to
one.
do it again.
Yes,
So it's kind of exciting. Hopefully it'll be a wonderful addition to our athletic program. They have the recommended action.
Whereas regulations of the Commissioner of Education permit students in grades 7 and 8 to participate on a high school team in the receiving district for which the child intends to enroll for grades 9 through 12, provided certain qualifications are met, and whereas the Haldane Central School District has identified an 8th grade student from the Garrison Union Free School District who may be eligible to participate in high school sports, and the district desires to provide such student with an opportunity to do so. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Haldane Central School District hereby permits student number 17410 to participate in the athletic placement process for participation in interscholastic athletics at Haldane Central Schools, with the understanding that Haldane has been identified as the high school of attendance for such student, and with transportation to be provided by the parent guardian to from Haldane schools. And be it further resolved that administration of Haldane Central Schools shall be responsible for providing approval for the identified student to begin the eligibility process, including the administration of any evaluations and or physicals, and the Haldane Medical Director and or such other officials designated by the Haldane Superintendent of Schools shall be responsible for the approval of the student to engage in the athletic placement process, either independently or upon consultation with Garrison's Medical Director or other designated Garrison officials on an as-needed basis. This resolution shall take effect immediately and apply specifically to this student for the 2025-26 school year only.
We have a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
And any opposed? Now we have to decide on a date or a time for our superintendent evaluation timeline. I actually think we have it in there for our next board meeting to have an executive session on December 2nd, if that works for people. And we just have to decide if we want to meet before or after the meeting.
After you do the.
After?
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think, I think we traditionally we've used that specific tool, so we'll make sure that everybody gets that. I don't know if it's a PDF, but it has the rubric. Yeah, the rubric, thank you. The rubric in there that we can use to help foster discussion.
Great.
Yeah. Okay, so that's all I think I need to do for that one. And then new business, CSE, CPSE recommendations, may I have the recommended action?
Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education hereby approves the recommendations of the Committees on Special Education and Preschool Special Education as presented.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Approval of overnight field trips. Go ahead, sorry.
Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education hereby approves the following overnight trips. Model UN to Yukon, November 7th to the 9th. Boys varsity basketball to Springfield, Massachusetts, January 17th to the 18th. High school ski club to Gore and Whiteface Mountains, February 18th to the 20th. The junior class to Washington, D.C. from March 24th to the 27th. The senior class to Philadelphia, but it's not, it's Boston.
Yeah, it was per.
Senior
Mhm.
class to Boston, March 25th to the 27th. And 8th grade to Frost Valley, May 13th to the 15th.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yep,
Sorry.
yep, absolutely.
Sorry.
Yes, no, that's fine.
I'm an idiot. We've done this before in the past with sports. We started it with
Right.
lacrosse, right?
Overnight.
And this basketball trip happened last year as well.
This one happened again. So, so the teams that have gone have only been lacrosse and basketball.
Maybe for overnight, girls, yeah.
Is it a
and-
tournament?
Yeah, and girls basketball have done tournaments too, where maybe they're not staying overnight, but it's a 2 or 3 day tournament, right?
Definitely, and there were years that girls did overnights basketball in my time at Haldane for sure.
The board adoption, we just started doing within the past 2 or 3 years, and it was a recommendation from our insurance company.
Gotcha. Okay. Thanks, Kim.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, approval of the updated Haldane Central School District Safety and Emergency Management Plan for this coming school year, which we just had the hearing for.
Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education hereby approves the Haldane Central School District Safety and Emergency Management Plan for 2025-2026, updated to include a cardiac emergency response plan.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And now it's the approval of the updated Haldane Central School District building level school emergency response plans for the school year. May I have the recommended action?
Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education hereby approves the Haldane Central School District building level school emergency response plans for 2025-2026, updated to include a cardiac emergency response plan.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Anything else you need to say about this? I think we're good. Okay. And all in favor? Any opposed? And lastly, monthly administrator reports. We wanted to
Yes.
chat a little bit about.
Yeah, I'd
what
love
we
to
wanna
have-
see.
Yeah, a quick discussion on this. So as we know, our current practice is that we have the admins share a monthly report during our workshop meetings. And in November and December, we only have one meeting and we don't have workshop for those 2 months. So thinking through that, and then we're also thrilled to have Max and Luke this year as our student board members. And not that they certainly would take the place of our admin sharing monthly updates, but they're also giving some nice updates across each of the schools. So I wanted to talk with the board a little bit to see what your thoughts might be on, do we continue with having the admin submit monthly reports, or could we think about reducing the frequency a little bit? Maybe it's on a quarterly basis, and then we could talk about what type of content we would like to see continued in those monthly reports. So I look from the student perspective, they're meeting with each of the administrators, you get to meet with student council, and then whatever else perspective that they're bringing. But just thinking through really the purpose of the monthly reports, do we still want to include them monthly? What do we do about maybe the months that we don't have that workshop meeting? And then what type of content you want to see in those moving forward? So I just figured we'd start a conversation, and it did come up with the administrators as well. So I figured we'd start talking through and get a perspective from them.
Well, we used to have them present at board meeting.
Correct.
And so we backed it down to just throw us a report.
Right.
And each one presents once a year,
Right. And so.
because we do a visit,
Yes.
like a couple of us go on elementary school visit and then Christine will present, right? A couple of us will do a middle school
Right.
visit and then Marianne. So, yeah.
So now the suggestion is to go away from also the report to just a quarterly report?
So the thought was just talking with the admins, if we reduced it, but then looked at the content. So when you look at each report, we don't have a set format that we use. So the building principals might offer a report in one way, our directors might share things differently. So it's getting a sense of maybe first what the board would like to see in their reports. And then is it necessary to have them monthly if you're hearing some of the same things to the student perspective? Not always, but like actually Max and I tonight, not even knowing, I reported on some of the same things you did, right? Because we were both sharing different events. So it's just kind of just talking out loud about what we think the purpose of the reports are. And certainly the admins and I will continue to provide what the board would like to see. We just thought it might make sense now that we have student board members as well. Are we providing the information you all want to hear? Do you want to see things a little differently? Is there opportunity to reduce the number of reports, or is there not? So it's really more, a discussion.
I think what the students are doing, meeting with them in advance is great. And, presenting some of the things that are happening at the school, like the events, but sometimes there are, more curriculum or instruction related things, with Ms. Jammin giving reports on how the new reading curriculum is going. Something like that, I think, is worth putting into a written report for us. And then we would also get reports from Josh Haldane and Aaron PK, right? And those aren't necessarily meetings that our student representatives would be having with those administrators? Or they would only be meeting with the principals to get school updates?
So our student reps can meet with any of the
anybody.
admins,
Okay.
but, so I don't wanna, I'm not saying because we have the students that we don't wanna do reports. It's just
Yeah,
kind of thinking
right.
through, do we wanna do them on a monthly basis? And then if we don't have a workshop meeting a couple times a year, typically they were presented during workshop meetings. So November, we don't have a workshop meeting, and December as well.
Mhm.
The issue of guidelines, I mean, I can understand why a board would want to have certain things covered in a report, but then also, I don't know, it feels almost like a burden, also,
Right,
like,
yeah.
Right.
feels less natural or organic to how someone is understanding their building and what's happening in it, kind of where they see it. So, I mean, you could put out, oh, we should see X, Y, and Z in these things, but I'm not
No,
100% sure that's
Mhm.
gonna provide you
Direction.
the necessary information of which you would, be educated on, and then wouldn't just be then, I don't know, like an irritating click for a administrator to go through.
No, and I think each administrator has a different personality, and I think that obviously flows through to a degree. I do think, when there is something to tie back to a goal, or there's something that can tie back to an educational initiative, that's fascinating, and I think that's
Mhm.
and I don't know if that comes through every single month, maybe, so I don't know, right, in terms of.
Well, we
We'll
could definitely
do
be
that.
more thoughtful and purposeful when we're ready to report on goals. So I think for September, you did see a connection to what building and department goals were. You
Mhm.
maybe didn't see that as much for October, depending upon which report you read. So that's something we can talk about with the admin team, that where we can report on goals, we should. That way you do get a sense of what the building is working on. That's definitely something we can talk through.
And I think, sometimes we get a bigger, a mass of sports scores and how the sports team,
Mhm.
which is great because, if you don't have a kid in school, or you're not, around as much, that's so important to have. And maybe that's something more from the student members. I don't know, but I don't know. I like the reports. I just feel like this is really our only connection to what's going on in the school. Not that I want to overburden anybody by any
Sure,
means,
sure.
but I don't know. I enjoy the ones that are short and that are, very precise to the point, and I enjoy the ones that, are a little bit longer. I just feel like all that information is so valuable for what we do.
I think there's also a different perspective. I mean, like, I think there's just much more high level perspective that an administrator is going to provide, opposed to kind of an update. Like you said, there's going to be, these people have, doctorates and master's degrees in education. Let's be wowed by their knowledge of their school. I think that's fine.
Can I ask where the impulse to stop reporting comes from, and what the background on that might be?
Sure, I think it's not so much an impulse, just a wondering, since we now have students attending
see.
each meeting, is it necessary to always have both? I think
That
that's
makes sense.
how the conversation started, but
Yeah.
the admins appreciate being able to talk about their schools and departments, and so they'll be happy to continue to do that. But I think that's kind of where the wondering came.
That makes sense.
And we've had students before at board meetings
Right.
get up and present, but
Yeah.
Right.
now that we have someone at the table, whether it's Max or Ruth, every meeting,
Yeah.
that was kind of where it stemmed from.
I think it could just fill a different vibe.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think the student, reports
Mm-hmm.
would ideally be a different vibe and do different things than what the admin could do.
Right.
Maybe that. But then if I put that on like a sheet, like how to word that out,
Right.
that would get irritating, I think, very quickly, and feel
Right.
needlessly bureaucratic.
Quarterly is what would be every other month, roughly.
It could be, but it maybe sounds like we don't want to go in that direction, and that's okay. It's really, at this point, we wanted to just kind of bring it forward to see, thinking through November, only one board meeting, and December only has one board meeting. I didn't ask the admins to do anything for November, since we only had the one board.
Yeah.
meeting.
Oh, that's fine.
I guess I asked that question because I was curious if our admin staff felt that it was either a burden for them to do the reports, or if it was perhaps a wondering if we are interested in hearing from them.
Mhm.
It is, I will say that when we step back from getting reports, we lost the opportunity to read and have an interaction.
Sure.
And now that it's something that's buried inside, we get to this point in the agenda and it feels like, well, we've all read them, but what do we do with the information that we have? You know, so I feel like it might,
Yeah.
there's also a kind of process about how we communicate about that, or whether we want to redirect. And so, because it feels like it's done for us and us alone. And really, you know, we receive these reports and it's, you know, our duty in one way or another to then amplify or, you know, communicate about them in a meaningful way. So, and I thought that on occasion too. I read the report and I think, I've read this and I would love an opportunity to highlight this, but is there space for that? Should I do that? Are we saying that this is muted and for my eyes only? So I think the process is also a useful thing to be thinking
Yeah.
about too.
It's a super fair
Yeah.
point, actually. And then like, you know, it's our admin team is excellent.
Yeah.
And they're super responsive to anything that we, you know, ask or call or anything. But you know, the purpose of the public meeting is that it's for the public meeting, you know, it's not just, hey, let me, you know, I read this from your report, what's going on?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
maybe
know.
the student members could actually highlight some of the things in the admin reports. And then we could get a list of some of the events, but also in the meetings with the administrators, it could be talked about, like maybe the student, so that we're still getting the reports and we're reading the substantive things that the administrators want to report on. But then that would be an opportunity for the public to hear, because I'm sort of in the same boat where it's like, I want to pick out some things so the administrators know that I'm really interacting with it. And unless I'm emailing them kind of offline with questions, it's like, are we going to have a conversation about all the cool stuff going on in the schools? So maybe that could be where the students could step in and say, I would like to highlight this thing that's happening
Yeah.
at the school.
That's already in the report. That's a good idea.
That's already in the report,
Yeah.
the thought where we could go with it.
That's helpful. Thank you.
But so you speak now more at the meetings than most of us do, so maybe we can all do our own little reports.
That's true. That's true, right? We're giving more work for the students as opposed.
I mean, in the
We could,
past,
we could
year-
we could each pick a report and be like, okay, I'm on this report this week, and then and highlight something.
Yeah, in the past couple of meetings, at least since I've started, it does seem that at the second comment from the board, some of you do highlight, and the administrators do appreciate.
Yeah,
what's
to
read.
call out,
It-
yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
encourage you to continue to do that. That's nice.
Well, there's times in that transportation report from, was so exciting, and he, you know, it's only one or two sentences, but it was an electric bus update, and you just kind of, sometimes just
Yeah.
silly sitting there reading parts of their reports, but it's exciting.
Mhm, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I'll share this with the admins next time we meet. And so we do have a December meeting. So it sounds like you would like to have a report from the admins in December, since we did also have one in November, and we can connect it to, I don't know who will be at, will be Luke at the next meeting. So
Great.
he can highlight, he can bring out some of the pieces that are in those reports.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you all.
And Peggy, I talked to her before, just to prep, and she was comfortable having us have this discussion and wanted to hear, was really interested in hearing what everyone had to say about it. Okay, we're at our second session of communication from the public on about all school district matters. Is there anything anyone wants to say? Okay. Board reflections.
I had an opportunity to do go to the Dia de los Muertos, which was done by the PTA. I saw many of our admin team there. It was excellent. Shout out to the teachers that you know, obviously it's the PTA, but the teachers did really showed up and really helped out. Kids were running all different types of little stations. It was just a really, really great event. Very well attended. And Mr. Sullivan's bread was
Delicious.
was eaten quite well. And again, just a really, really special event. And off to the side, if people notice, there was just a really beautiful the ofrenda, right? The you know, people had put up meaningful images of staff members and family members, and that's really great. You know, maybe the kids noticed that, maybe they didn't, but that's that, really important community piece. It's really good.
I just wanted to say that I know that we're kind of going through a period in which it's possible that there could be people in our community, individuals who are losing access to support that they might otherwise have had through the federal government for SNAP benefits. And I just want to, say that I'm glad that we as a school at least have the opportunity to provide nourishment for those families and those students while they're here, at least while this uncertain time sort of goes on. So I just want to highlight that.
Sure. Max, anything?
Nothing really. Thank you, Mrs. Horn, for a great presentation.
Yeah.
Took the words out of my mouth. Thank you.
Any last thoughts?
No, all set.
I'll move to adjourn the meeting. May I have a motion?
Moved.